Hello and welcome to class number 2 of this quick revision series for UPSC Civil Service Prelims 2024. If you are someone who is planning to appear on 16th of June for this year's UPSC Prelims exam, this series is meant for you. We had the first class yesterday. The entire endeavor is that within 40 days, every single day in short lectures, we will be revising current affairs and important things that were in the news in the last 12 months or so. So make sure that you attend each and every class. If you did not attend the first class, the link for that I have given in the description of the video. Also, I am open to sharing the PDF of all these lectures. To get the PDF for these lectures for your revision, you can join the Telegram channel. Again, the link for Telegram channel you will find in the description of the video. Without any further ado, let's start. In today's class, I have taken up important news stories from three different areas: education, vulnerable section of the society, and some of the news stories from Indian Polity. We are starting with number 21 because in the first class we already covered 20 topics, so I really hope that all of you have gone through that. Number 21 is the introduction of National Curriculum Framework, that is NCF. As you know, recently the National Education Policy had come out, which had talked about a lot of changes. Now, some of those changes were that you can transfer between your college, in between your course also. For example, you can do first year from one college, then you can go to some other college, continue from second year. There were also talks about students being allowed to give the board examination 10th and 12th twice in a year, not just once. Because for example, if they are not well during the examination, their entire year will get wasted. A lot of changes were given in the National Education Policy. Now there is a framework inside of that policy called National Curriculum Framework that talks about what are the changes that will be introduced. So what are the important changes? For example, first, it mandates teaching of 3 languages, including 2 Indian languages in classes 9th and 10th, and at least 2 languages in 11th and 12th, which includes 1 Indian language as well. As you know, most of the people who are already in college or who have passed out of college, in school they might have only studied 1 language in 11th and 12th. For example, I studied English. I studied Hindi till class 10th along with English, then 11th, 12th was only English. But here it says 11th, 12th, there have to be at least 2 Indian languages. Then it also says class 12 board exams should be held twice a year. Again, the idea is if you have worked hard throughout the year and God forbid during the examination you fall ill, there's a family emergency, then your entire year gets wasted. For that not to happen, the board exam shall happen twice in a year and you can appear whenever you feel that you are ready. Then, so far 9 to 12, the students studied 5 mandatory subjects with the option of adding 1 more. But now, mandatory subjects for class 9th and 10th are 7 and 11th and 12th will have to study at least 6 mandatory subjects. So thank God we are already passed out of school and we won't have to study more. But from now, this National Curriculum Framework says 11th and 12th also would have to study 6 mandatory subjects. Also, it mandates compulsory instruction of 3 languages up to class 10th, as we just discussed. The students also have the freedom to choose subjects when they are in class 11th and 12th. For example, when we entered class 11th, the option that was given to us was PCM. If you want to go for science, physics, chemistry, mathematics, or let's say PCB, physics, chemistry, biology. There was no option for me, for example, to choose physics and accounts and, for example, let's say history. There was no option to mix and match as such. There were preset combinations that were provided. National Curriculum Framework says that no, that will not continue now. Students should have the freedom to decide which subject do they want to choose. They can choose 1 subject from humanities, 1 from science, based on what their interest is. So again, National Curriculum Framework makes this important change as well. Next important news again related to education is something called APAAR, Automated Permanent Academic Account Registry. Again, very important. See, the idea is simple. There are times where you need to change your school midway in the year. For example, let's say your parents who are working get transferred all of a sudden, you want to move to a different city. In between the school year, now how do you move? If you have completed, let's say, 4 months of schooling of this year, how do you move? You will have to drop the entire year. So the idea is, let's say you have already studied for 4 months. When you transfer to the other school, you will start from where you had left off. That new school will confirm that you have already studied 4 months, you have already covered some syllabus in the previous school. We will now continue your education from where you left off. How will that be possible? Because the credits or marks, whatever you want to call them, your credits of the old school will be linked to your Aadhaar number and will be saved in this automated permanent academic account registry. So all your certificates, all your credits, etc. will be stored here, so that wherever you go in the entire country, you want to change your school, you want to change your college, whatever you want to do, wherever you want to change, the new school can confirm with this ID, with this registry, that yes, you have studied or already covered this much syllabus in the previous school. So the student can change school within the state, all across the country, and their academic credits will be transferred. Because usually, let's say you're in class 9th, you studied for 4 months, now you have to go to a new school. The new school will say, no, take admission from the very beginning, right? Or come next year then take admission. With this system, at least that problem will be resolved. This is what APAAR is all about. It's an important topic for the examination. It will make it easier for students to transfer from one school to the other school. It will all be linked to your Aadhaar number. All your achievements of the school time will be stored in digital form. Exam results, your achievements in, let's say, competitions, Olympiads, any training that you would have undergone, all of that will be stored here. Next, again related to education, the government of India launched something called the Malviya Mission. Malviya Mission is what? It is a teachers training program. Now, as you know, when we talk about reforms in the education system in India, one of the most talked about reforms is teacher training. That is, give proper training to the teachers of how to behave, how to teach in the classroom, how to handle student behavior, etc. This is where the government, specifically the Ministry of Education and Skill Development Entrepreneurship, they have launched the Malviya Mission. The aim is to provide tailored training programs for teachers in higher educational institutions. Do remember this? The aim is to cover 15 lakh teachers of higher education institutions through 111 Malviya Mission centers. As you know, Madan Malviya himself was a well-renowned teacher, and that is why it has been named the Malviya Mission. Also, the aim is to improve the quality of teachers, build leadership skills. The aim of the mission is to be mapped to credit framework to ensure proper pathway for educators as well. So even the educators, for example, while they undergo training, they will get some credits, so that when they apply for new jobs, the new institute can get the background check and they can see that yes, you have undergone training for these modules, so that you can get better jobs. Next, a new portal by the government of India called the Sathi portal. In simple terms, this is a portal for those who are preparing for entrance examinations such as IIT, JEE, so that they can prepare on their own. This Sathi portal stands for Self-Assessment, Test and Help for Entrance Examination. So the government is trying to help those who are preparing for these entrance examinations by giving them tests, by giving them mock tests, etc., training modules. This is through the Sathi portal. It has been launched by Ministry of Education along with IIT Kanpur. It's an open portal for quality education to every student preparing for exams such as JEE, NEET, other engineering exams as well. Do remember, it is for these entrance examinations and it is developed with the help of IIT Kanpur. What does it do? It provides a 45-day crash course which is available in 5 languages to help the students in solidifying their concepts while they are studying for these engineering examinations. All India mock tests are conducted every weekend and they're on the same format as they are conducted by the National Testing Agency that conducts examinations such as the JEE. Also, this portal is being integrated in the schools so that the students don't have to go and do everything separately. They can be in school and within school only they can be provided all of this help. So it can be integrated with the school system also. This is what the Sathi portal is all about. Guys, as I said yesterday, this series will be about talking to the point. Rather than going into detail or brief of each and every topic, we will be focusing mainly on those pointers which are important for the prelims examination point of view. Because number one, it's a quick revision series. Secondly, it's specifically meant to strengthen your preparation for the prelims examination. So as many topics as we can cover, it is always good for us. So make sure that you take this series from that point of view. It might not give you an in-depth knowledge about each and every topic, but will certainly prepare you for the upcoming prelims examination. The next section of news stories that we have taken up is from the vulnerable section. Basically the tribes that have been in the news for different reasons, government initiatives for tribes and the backward classes. Starting with the Shresht scheme. Shresht scheme for residential education for students in high school in the targeted area. So in simple terms, the idea is students belonging to the scheduled caste usually drop out of the school before higher education. So what happens is usually the dropout rate among the scheduled caste students is being seen to be higher as compared to others. Many of them drop out before they actually reach high school. So the government has started these residential schools to help them so that their burden of education can be reduced and they can actually get high quality education. The government runs, for example, the Eklavya schools for scheduled tribes specifically. These are the tribal schools. Similarly, there is a state scheme for scheduled caste students. Do remember that. This is specifically for CBSE affiliated residential schools will be opened up across the country. 3,000 seats will be given each year in class 9th and 11th only. The entire cost of the school fee, the residential charges, none of this will be taken from the student or the family. It will all be borne by the Department for Education. Do remember this. Again, only 9th and 11th is where the admissions are held. Students who belong to scheduled caste studying in class 8th, class 10th, they are eligible. They have to go through a test which is called the National Entrance Test for Shresht. This will be conducted by the National Testing Agency, and again admissions are only in class 9th and class 11th. Who are eligible to study in these schools? Number one, you should belong to scheduled caste community, and number two, your parental income should be less than 2.5 lakhs annually. So annually your parents should not earn more than 2.5 lakh rupees and you should belong to the scheduled caste community. Students who are successful will be given admission into the school of their choice anywhere in the entire country, so they can choose wherever they want to study. Also, as I said, no fees will be taken from them. The students will be given all the benefits from the Department of Education for their higher education as well. This is the Shresht scheme. Do remember that. A tribe that was a lot in the news this year was the Haki-Piki tribe. Why were they in the news? Because a lot of people belonging to these tribes were found to be stranded in Sudan, where there were violent clashes taking place. The government was carrying out the evacuation, and that is why this tribe came in the news. Now, Haki-Piki is a name of a tribe that actually comes in from two different names. Haki in Kannada means bird and Piki means a catcher. So basically they historically have been bird catchers and hunters. So this is a very, very vulnerable tribal community, not very high on education. That is why they do not get a lot of orthodox jobs. Their jobs are usually to build their own indigenous products which they sell throughout the country and outside as well. That is why they live in countries such as Sudan as well, where they sell their own indigenous products. In India, they usually reside in western and southern states of India, mainly in Karnataka. They are also seen in other parts of the country, for example, Rajasthan, Gujarat as well. Now, they are a part of the scheduled tribe, or they are rather recognized as scheduled tribes in India. So they get all the benefits of scheduled tribe reservation, be it in jobs, be it in education institutions. The one major issue with most of these tribes that you have to understand is, see, the tribal community for many, many decades have been dependent upon hunting activities and also upon the forest produce that they get. Now, with the concerns about the environment, there have been very stringent laws passed about environmental conservation. There are laws such as the Wildlife Protection Act, so hunting has been banned to a large extent. So a lot of these tribal communities who were dependent on hunting, who were dependent on the cutting of forests, etc., they now don't have a lot of avenues to sustain. So many of them have now moved out of India and they try and sell their tribal products. Same is the case with the Haki Piki tribe. So they sell spices, flowers, Ayurvedic formulations, herbal oils, etc. by going to different countries around the world, mainly in African continent as well, because this is where there is a lot of demand of cheap alternatives to Western medicines where people cannot afford a lot of medication. Also, the Haki-Bigi tribe speaks an Indo-Aryan language. Their language is called as Wagri. Now, Wagri has been listed by UNESCO as one of the endangered languages of the world. Do remember, the tribe mainly follows Hinduism, and the unique tradition that they have is that the eldest son of the family does not cut his hair so that he can be identified easily that this is the eldest son. So he will be the heir apparent after the leader of the family passes away. These are some unique characteristics of this tribe. Do remember that. Here's again an infographic that gives you some information about the Haki Piki tribe as well. Another tribe that was in the news were the Hathis or the Hattis. Now, they were in the news because they were recently given the tag of scheduled tribe in the state of Himachal Pradesh. Now, there are different demands coming in from different parts of the country. You see what is happening in Manipur as well, or what ignited all this issue in Manipur. A lot of communities demand their inclusion in scheduled tribe or scheduled caste to get benefits for reservation. There has been a movement in Himachal Pradesh for a long time by the Hati community that they also want to be included in the scheduled tribe category, and now they have been. So this community mainly lives near Himachal and Uttarakhand border. The name that they have, Hatis, basically the name comes from heart. Heart, if you don't know, are these shops that are set up. These are not permanent. These are temporary shops that are set up to sell small stuff. For example, when you go to a tourist location, you will see that outside the main tourist spot, there are certain stalls that are set up to sell you local stuff. Those are called the haats. So the merchants that used to run these haats, they were named as the Hatis. They usually used to sell their vegetables, crops, wool, meat, etc. Their tribal rituals include a traditional council called the Kumbli, and the men from this community generally wear a white headgear during the important ceremonies. Now, the important part for us also here is to understand how a tribe can get included in the category of scheduled tribes. What exactly is the process? Do remember here a name, that is the Lokur Committee. Lokur Committee of 1965 was a committee that had suggested what should be the criteria to include any tribe in scheduled tribe category. So the suggestion that they gave were, first, the tribe should be primitive, they should have a distinctive culture, they should be geographically isolated, they should be shy of coming in contact with other community, and they should be backward. This is the process, the step-by-step process. Now, the process usually indicates that the demand has to start from the state level, the state government or the union territory. It is then passed on to the Union Tribal Affairs Ministry that will send a proposal to Registrar General of India's office. After that, it goes to National Commission for Scheduled Tribes, and when all of these give a green signal, then the Presidential Order of 1950 that gave the original list of scheduled tribes is then amended to include this. Now, do remember, these categories, scheduled tribes, scheduled caste, other backward classes, these are state specific. So the Hatis have been given the scheduled tribe status in Himachal Pradesh. So for example, if there is, let's say, someone from the Hati community living in, let's say, Maharashtra, living in West Bengal, they cannot claim the same scheduled tribe status because the scheduled tribe status or scheduled caste status are specifically divided state-wise. The same person belonging to the same community but in some other state might not get the same benefits. So do remember that part, it is very state specific. And now we start with one of the most important subjects of prelims examinations, Indian polity and governance. There is a bunch of news from Indian polity and governance. We will take about 3 to 4 classes to cover all these important news stories see what was in the news throughout the entire year. Starting with the Women Reservation Act. Now, as you know, this was one of the most landmark decisions by the present government, amending the constitution to allow reservation for women in the parliament and in the state legislative assemblies. You all would have read about this. This act allows 33% seats of Lok Sabha and all state legislative assemblies, Legislative Assembly of Delhi, to be specifically reserved for women. There were multiple articles that were inserted. Article 330A, Article 332A, Article 239AA and Article 334A. Now this is also important. Please remember, this is a law with sunset provision. What do you mean by sunset provision? Sunset provision means laws that are temporary. Laws that come into place for a specific time period. All the reservation laws in India, when they first started, be it the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe reservation, all these reservation laws were first initiated for 15 years only. Just that after every 15 years, they have been extended time and time again, but it was initially for 15 years only. Similarly, for Women Reservation Act also, the provision has been given for 15 years. But that does not mean that it cannot continue after that. By the end of 15 years, we might see another amendment in the constitution in Article 334A that might continue it further. But I really hope after the next 15 years, you will not be preparing for the IAS examination. So you will not have to worry about that. Just worry about it right now in Article 334A. When does the reservation start? It does not start immediately. It will come into effect only after delimitation exercise is conducted. Meaning that when the next census is done, so we have not had a census. It was supposed to happen in 2021. We have not had a census. So the census has to be conducted, number one. After census, as you know, there is a delimitation exercise. Delimitation means depending upon how the population has changed, where population has increased or decreased, depending upon that, you then rearrange the number of seats. After that, there will be women reservation. So it is still slightly long way to go because even the census has not been held right now. So it's not something that will happen immediately. Also, the seats that are reserved for women will not be fixed. They will be rotated. So it will be rotated after each delimitation exercise. So for example, if these are the seats that are reserved for women this year, after delimitation exercise, next 1/3 seats will be reserved. After next delimitation exercise, next 1/3 seats will be reserved. So it's not that, for example, let's say you live in Prayagraj or Lucknow. If your seat is reserved for women MP, this time around, doesn't mean it will always be reserved for a women MP. It will keep on rotating with the delimitation exercise. Now, do remember, we already have reservation for women at the panchayat and at the municipality level. The difference is, at panchayat and municipality level, the law says we need to have at least 1/3 reservation for women. See, the difference is only of one word. Panchayat and municipalities say at least 1/3 seats reserved for women. At least 1/3 means some states, if they want, they can increase it beyond 1/3 also. And some states have increased it. For example, Bihar in 2006 gave 50% reservation to women in panchayat bodies. And after that, many other states have done the same. So at the panchayat and municipality level, the law says at least 1/3 seats should be reserved for women. The state legislative assembly can increase it and some of them have. For the parliament, the provision is not that. It just says 33% seats will be reserved. It does not say at least 33%. So that is a change. This is not the first time that the Women Reservation Act has been tried to be passed by the government. Earlier also attempts have been made, but none of the attempts were successful. 81st Amendment Bill was introduced in 1996, could not pass. In 1998 also, Atal Bihari Vajpayee government tried to introduce a bill, again did not pass. Attempts were made in 99, 2000, 2002, 2003 as well, and as recent as 2008 as well. But it just did not pass. So this is not the first time that the Women Reservation Bill or Act was introduced, but this is the first time that has been successfully passed. As you know, the government in fact called a special session of the parliament just for this bill to be passed. Next, another very important news that has been in a lot of discussion, that is the Gyanvapi mosque case. Now, as you know, the Gyanvapi mosque is in Varanasi. There's a lot of talk about it. There has been different inspections done by the Archaeological Survey of India. Let's look at a bit of history about that. Now, this mosque was built on the orders of Aurangzeb in 1669, and it is certain, it has been proven beyond doubt, that it was built by demolishing the Vishweshwar temple in Varanasi. Who was given the order? The order was given to Governor Abul Hasan to demolish the temple by Aurangzeb, and this particular incident is also mentioned in Saqib Khan's book called Yasir Alamgiri. Now remember, this particular mosque is not a monument that is under ASI. Archaeological Survey of India is not protecting this mosque specifically. They do not have any role in upkeeping this particular mosque. Now, the issue of this mosque, what the judiciary decides, what happens in the end, that is a separate matter altogether. We will not go into that. For our examination point of view, for us it is important to understand a law related to it. The law is Places of Worship Act 1991. This has been a law a lot in the news ever since the Ayodhya temple verdict came out. What does this law say? In simple terms, this law says, on the day of India's independence, 15th of August 1947, whatever was the nature of a religious installation, for example, if there was a temple, it shall remain a temple. If there was a mosque, it shall remain a mosque. If there was a gurdwara, it shall remain a gurdwara. Means all the disputes about its earlier nature will not be brought up again. Whatever was the nature of these installations on 15th of August 1947, it will remain the same, except the Ram Janmabhoomi, because that was under the judiciary anyway, and this matter has now been resolved. So the people who are against these issues of Gyanvapi mosque coming up time and time again, they give example of this law specifically, because this law says that the religious character of any place of worship cannot change after 15th August 1947. The Act defines place of worship as a temple, mosque, gurdwara, church, etc. And there is prohibition of conversion. Please do remember this. One exception was to Ram Janmabhoomi because it was a judicial matter even before that. But for all others, there is prohibition on conversion. Now, there are a lot of rumors, there are a lot of allegations the government might want to change this law. If it happens, we will see, but at least for now, this law is still in place. It says religious character of the place of worship will be the same as it was on 15th of August 1947. There shall be no fresh case or legal proceedings against any other religious place except the Ram Janmabhoomi Babri Masjid dispute. That has to be resolved, and that, as you know, has already been resolved. Section number 5 of this act also says ancient historical monuments, archaeological sites, etc. are covered under this Ancient Monument Act. They will be exempted. Now, this is a very interesting point here. Please remember, the act says religious places where there is worship going on, they will not be converted. But if there are any ancient historical monuments, if there are monuments that have a historical significance, they are exempted from it. This is the point that is being used in the Gyanvapi mosque case. How is it that the case has been admitted by the judiciary? How is it that judiciary is listing matters in the Gyanvapi mosque case? Because it is being argued that it has archaeological significance and thus it is exempted from not coming to the judiciary. That is again a very important point. Next, last topic for today's class is the new parliament building. Now, there was a lot of news coverage of the new parliament building, so there are important points that you must remember, both of old and the new parliament building. Let's look at some of the important pointers for the old parliament building for beginning. First, the architects were Edwin Luton and Herbert Baker. These were the architects for the entire New Delhi area that you see even today. The foundation was laid by Prince Arthur of the royal family. Construction was started in 1919. The building comprised of the council house, which had the legislative assembly chamber, that is the Lok Sabha. it had the Rajya Sabha, and it had the Chamber of Princes, which was later renamed as a library hall. It had a circle shape architecture. Do remember that was inspired by circular shape of Chaucered Yogini temple at Morena, Madhya Pradesh. Do remember that. There were other different elements as well, like jalis, chhatris, etc. The old Parliament building had about 144 cream sandstone pillars of 27 feet each. It was inaugurated by Lord Irwin in 1927, who was the Governor General of India back then. Do remember these details. Now, the new Parliament building. The construction, as you know, began in 2019. It was a part of the Central Vista Redevelopment Project. The Central Vista Redevelopment Project basically was a project to develop an entire area which included the Parliament building, also residences for Prime Minister, Vice President, and 10 very important buildings of that area. If you've ever been to that area that is nearby India Gate in Delhi, you will see it looks very regal, it looks very royal, but most of the buildings are extremely old, so they needed redevelopment. They also had to be, for example, earthquake resistant, and many other details had to be installed. That is why the Central Vista project was taken up. It was run, or it is being run rather, the entire project, by the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. The new Parliament building, as you know, is designed in a triangular shape. Please remember, it's not that the old building has been demolished, it still exists. How it will be used, it remains to be seen as a museum or in some other way. One of the reasons why it was necessary to have a new Parliament building was there was no capacity to increase the number of seats in the old Parliament building. The number of seats in the Parliament in Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha have remained the same for a very, very long time now, since the 1970s. We had to increase it, but it is only possible after we have enough capacity. That also means that we needed to have this new Parliament building. The new Parliament building will have a much, much larger capacity. For example, Lok Sabha will have a capacity of 888 seats, while Rajya Sabha has a capacity of 384 seats. Lok Sabha Hall has been built in peacock theme, while Rajya Sabha Hall is based on lotus theme. Also, the Lok Sabha can accommodate 1272 seats when it comes to joint parliamentary session. So there's space for adding extra seats on a temporary basis if there's a joint parliamentary session. Also, it is state of the art, so each of the seats are equipped with digital systems, touch screens, etc., reducing the use of physical paper, for example, for reading of the bills and taking part in debates, etc. It also has a constitutional hall where the journey of Indian democracy has been documented, kind of a museum where you can actually see major landmarks of Indian democratic history. Also, it is Divyang friendly, so it's easy for people to move around. Materials that have been used in building of this new Parliament building have been brought from all across the country. For example, Sarmathura in Dholpur is where the sandstone was brought from, granite from Lakha village in Jaisalmer. Then the wood for the decor was used from Nagpur, craftsmen from Mumbai were taken up. So it's a collaborative effort to give a feeling that the entire country has played a major role in building of the new Parliament. It has a Gandhi statue that is 16 feet tall. It is made of bronze. It is built by famous sculptor Ram Sutar, who also built the Statue of Unity. National symbols are also on display here. There is the lion capital of Ashoka. There's national as a part of the national emblem that is being seen here. At the entrance, you'll see the Ashok Chakra and the word Satyamev Jayate that have been carved in stone. There are some other very interesting features. Sengol that we discussed about yesterday, that is a golden spectre that has also been placed, which is a symbol of transfer of power from the old to the new. The gallery has very interesting things. For example, there is a shilp that exhibits the textile installation from across the entire country. There's also Sthapatya that exhibits iconic monuments of India from different states and different union territories, along with different yoga asanas. And very interestingly, there's also something called the focal pendulum inside the new building. It is a pendulum that is in sync with the rotation of the earth. It takes exactly 49 hours, 59 minutes and 18 seconds to complete a full rotation at where it is placed in the Parliament. So again, very, very, very important. All these details you must remember for the upcoming prelims examination. Here is an infographic to help you remember this. This brings to the end of class number 2. Again reminding you, if you want the PDF, join my Telegram channel. The link I have given in the description of the video. Do look at the first class also if you have not attended that. The link for that also I am given in the description of this video. Join me at 6 p.m. tomorrow. Also make sure you check out other initiatives that I am running on this channel. I am running a mains answer writing initiative, PSIR and current affairs as well. Do subscribe here. Invite other friends as well who are preparing for the UPSC examination. Thank you so much. Have a good day ahead. Jai Hind.